and welcome to round 2 back 9 coverage of Falcons Flight 15 presented by Innova. This coverage is brought to you by the patrons of Park Pro and the PDGA of Canada. I am Jesse Tomalty, and I am once again joined by Ben Loggains.
Hello, Jesse. It's a joy to be back with you. I want to give a special shout out to those patrons of Park Pro. It means a lot to me that people support the coverage that they want to see.
Absolutely. We could not do it without them, literally, figuratively, and every other lee in between.
I'm assuming you came back here from after watching the front. I have not go back and watched that, but we told you we're going to be in the back 9 at Aspen Meadows here out in the open. Another look at our card. We see Casey Hanemayer getting to -5. The negatives are hard to get to out here at Aspen Meadows, so any bit of negatives you see is a bit of a statement.
Absolutely. And I just had a thought. This might be the youngest lead card that we've had on a Canadian disc golf tour.
Wow, yeah, that could be true for sure. Jackson and Luke, very young. Noah, been around for a long time, but I honestly don't even know how old he is. He's been around for a decade, it feels like, at least.
I want to say
Casey,
he's 20 at time of coverage. Somebody can correct me.
Could be right.
But let's jump into hole 10, 368 feet. This one, the basket is blind off the tee. You're using that tree closest to the basket as kind of your measuring point for your shot. Most players, other than Jackson being a lefty, will probably swing something out, a big hyzer over the OB, have it come in and try and nestle up to this elevated basket.
Yeah, simple shot, just a backhand hyzer for the righties. But without a doubt, the challenge here is reading the wind, because you're teeing from the edge of the forest with really, you're looking at the limbs, looking at the leaves, as you see Casey here, trying to imagine what that's going to do to your disc. It's not even just the forest, it's also the hill blocking your perception.
Yeah, not only are
nice
you just coming out of the trees, but also the tee itself is protected.
That's crazy good. I mean, it is, like we said, it's a simple shot, backhand hyzer, 368. That's a stock shot, but to land it right where Casey did is not common. Ooh, that's well done from Luke.
See if
the
Noah can
most common
match.
Result is for sure to go edge of circle left of this basket, because you're afraid of hanging it out over the B. You see the white stakes on the right. So anything that doesn't make it back in, you're going to be re-teeing effectively on this hole. Like if this doesn't make it back for Noah, he's going to be thrown again from basically the tee box. Yeah, that's the danger. That's why you see most of the misses are left of pin, which is then becomes a putt you really can't justify running. So,
yeah, respectfully, that wasn't close. That must have been a misrelease or a pull from him.
Jackson. So yeah, the Jackson ends up in the spot where most righties end up. Oh, and you see Noah does elect to re-tee, because if he were to advance, all he would do is get himself into that gravel road that you see right in front, which isn't necessarily any better than being on the tee box.
Yeah, when you're as talented as Noah, you definitely want to go for the better footing here.
Okay, and that's the result we see the most often, where you play it safe and you let it bail out to the left. Yeah, daunting putts as we see from Jackson here, but I mean, they're daunting putts for birdies. They're not, daunting putts for bogeys. So Noah taking his medicine. Okay, Luke, this is close enough. You kind of got to go. Awkward stance. Wow, that's a great snap.
Yeah, perfect putt. A little scary on that side for the righties as your disc fades down the hill, making your comebacker even longer.
Yeah, and this basket, like quite obviously lifted up and then very exposed to the wind.
Noah gets
couple of birdies. I'd say normally you see one birdie per card. I would say is probably the average.
Yeah, 1 or 2. We can check in here. There were 19% birdies on the day, 15% bogeys, and 4% double bogeys, making an even 19% split for under and over par.
Okay, yeah, checks out. Okay, hole 11, quite a safe hole here. The shape of this green, you just got to put something out to the right. I'd say something overstable, either something faster on the mid-range scale or slower on the fairway driver scale. And you just wanted to use the stability of the disc to come back against the slope here. A little bit of luck involved in the green here, exactly where you come in. I think most folks are trying to go around the little spruce aspen that are hugging each other there on the right and bring it into the base of the basket. But it's for sure a fine spot to have a go at the ace and bring it in with some height and a little more hyzer.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about the green. If you get tucked under some of those trees, it can be very difficult to make stance. I know I've had circle one putts that I had to make lying on my stomach.
Perfect. That's the overstable mid-range there from Casey, I'm fairly certain. And then you throw that a little bit lower and you take some of the branches out of play. Easier to park it, but maybe not likely to ace, even though he was maybe drawing some metal in the bottom of the bucket there. Well done from Luke as well. Wow, this is interesting. There's so many of these plays that I just never even contemplated what it would be like to play it as a lefty. So yeah, it's just way harder to control the distance for the lefty. So the righty, you're hyzering back into the slope, so it's just very natural to control the distance. But for Jackson, that's a tall task. It's a little inside.
Yeah, a little inside, a little bit short. Once you hit the downslope, I think that the disc naturally wants to funnel to the basket. But if you're low or short of that point, rather, you can definitely leave some work.
It's a fun putt in practice, but pretty stressful in this scenario.
Yeah, that low branch taking any opportunity at a lofty putt away.
Oh my goodness, as if he puts that on the chains.
Yeah, Jackson's been having a great tournament with the putter, and I expected that one to drop even though it was on the difficult side of the lefty.
Wow, and same scenario for Noah and for Jackson. Luke keeps it on the stripe, a little high, but you saw his stroke there was perfectly on line with the pole. Knocks it in. Casey, after perhaps drawing some metal off the tee, just zero stress birdie, which is, man, that's the way to do it.
Another
Not
bogey
a lot
for
of
Noah.
opportunities for low stress anything on this west side, especially when you get out into this back nine in the wind. Even the stuff that happens to you that's good, it just feels like the stress piles up.
It's almost a theme of the course. Right? Managing the course is harder than playing the holes individually.
Absolutely. See, does he get some metal here? No,
Maybe
not quite.
Tickle on the pole.
Yeah, that's really well done, though.
And now for the big boy. Hole 12, 1,095-foot par 5. Maybe the signature hole of this west side. Coming out here, a lot of players will throw a layup to this corner and then try and take all their distance on their second shot down the hill. You want to keep your discs in play. It's largely downhill, so the 1,100-foot ask isn't as daunting as it might seem, but as soon as you get too deep into these roughs, it suddenly becomes very, very difficult. There is also an OB fence behind the basket. It doesn't come into play too much, but I've definitely seen some deep layups go that far and some nasty rollaways.
Yeah, the green is quick once you reach it because it for certain slopes off down to that fence. Casey with the forehand here. This is for certain the safe way to attack. Wow. So perfect distance control there to land that right in the middle of the fairway. Not as easy as it looks, but for sure easier than trying to bend a big turnover around this one.
The turnover does get tempting, but 9 times out of 10, it is not worth the trouble.
Luke had a little bit of a loop in his throw there where he, whipped it around and then put the nose up on him. Perhaps my guess would be that it's easy for him to overshoot this landing zone, so he's maybe trying to be a little touchy and add a little loop into the shot there to control his distance. But then that can be tough when you're a little bit in between clubs and you can't, throw it full.
It's also tempting to leave it high to get as much distance down the hill out of that fade on the forehand.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a lot of discipline from Noah here to just throw a putter, maybe a mid-range, but because if he threw a big tall turnover, he could get way around this corner, but showing some discipline there, put himself in position and open up on the second shot.
Yeah, this is a smash.
So gonna fade. Yeah, but that's way down there. Even if you have to use a shot to pitch out, you want it to be pitching out from way down the fairway, not like where we see Jackson here. This is rough. So 15 years ago, when this course went in, these trees were, we see Luke is in the trees somewhere. Yeah, and that's it. That's just basically natural OB. So those trees that are left of the fairway were just tiny little Christmas trees that, a big guy like Casey could just throw right over. But that is not the case 15 years later, and this is truly a tunnel shot. My goodness.
That is perfect.
Look at the shape on that thing. So he's there in 2. And with just the forehand off the tee without even going for a big turnover. That is wild stuff.
There is something to be said about getting far enough down the hill. If you land on the slope, the footing can be very awkward to try and throw a full power shot while going down at a 15 to 20 degree angle.
Yeah, and taking that disc low there, Casey needs to hit the gap, but it makes it easier to keep the disc on line. Wow, that's beautifully thrown. That's the key here. Is if you can put it in this fairway, which is not big, then you save yourself a stroke from having to pitch out because, look at this rough. The odds that you're going to advance, more than 100 feet at a time if you're in that rough is, you got to get really lucky to have a true place to swing from. Jackson going over the left side. Wow, that's well done.
Yeah, that is better than you could draw it up.
Yeah, controlling the distance on this one, it's so easy to leave yourself 50 feet short, and then immediately right after that, it feels like you just throw it down to the barbed wire. Wow. You see one almost bounce on the bucket. Luke, this is low, so that barbed wire's in his head for sure, right? It just comes up so quick. Casey able to jump putt into this green for a birdie. Wow. There's been years where we didn't have a birdie on this hole. I'm not sure what the stats are for this year, but there have been years where there were no. Wow, that's a great putt from Luke.
It's a working man's bogey.
Absolutely. That's not a terrible bogey. The 6 makes up strokes on the field, I would guarantee, without seeing the stats. But there's been years where there was not a 4 on this course. So to see Casey jump putt and now going to just drop in a birdie, that is dream scenario. And again, without really any stress.
No. He played it exactly how he would like to draw it up. And to your stats, there were only 4 birdies on the day.
So folks, I think, are starting to figure this hole out because that is certainly more than we've seen in years past.
And also to your mind about stats, this was the most bogey hole. 37 players bogey or worse with 15 double bogeys.
Yeah, that's I would assume that I was one of them. I don't remember particularly, but spent a lot of time in those trees, Jesse. Can we get a check in here? EHO, Eric from the wow. That's a hole right ahead from the rough. That's a long ways in there.
Yeah, what a putt. He's got such a firm, direct putting style that when you're, under a low canopy duck like that, I don't think anyone's got a better putt for that job.
Yeah, we see Lopinto. Eric, that's a smooth putt. Look at his scorecard. My goodness.
Yeah, he's on
-7. Steve knocking one in for the birdie. Little click of the heels. Look at that. Bogey for Lopinto. Not having as good a day on this west side as he did on the east side. No, we see Eric Rube now moved into second.
Yeah, talking about managing these courses and not getting too many bogeys. The aftermath of the first round and the more scoreable west side, we see Eric jumping up the scoreboard, 7 down for 8 overall to be in second, 3 behind Casey in first place, a 2-way tie at third between EHO, Luke Levesque, Jackson in fifth, Nick Culver making an appearance after a 7 down through a 17.
We saw Noah there slid all the way down with a +4 through the round so far. Okay, hole 13. Again, this one's about managing the wind. We're parallel to hole 5's fairway here. If you have a big forehand, that might seem like it's obviously the play because you can swing it out here over the tall grass and bring it into this basket. But there's a bit of rough in front of the tee box that the low release of a forehand can make that challenging unless you can really take it high with a lot of power. You see some backhand turnovers to try to get up over the top of that. Straight shots, and then even hyzers over the severe rough to the right to play the wind. I think your decision here is going to have to really depend on what the wind is doing. Apart from perhaps Casey, who always has enough power to take this forehand over everything. Ooh, that's sawed off, though. That is not good.
Yeah, that will be deep in the rough.
Yeah, there's really no telling how bad that might be. So here's the hyzer from Noah. There's a quite a substantial gap between these trees that you can bring it in right into basket high, and I think he was a little deep of ideal. Oh wow, this is certainly an advantageous hole for Jackson unless the wind is under it, which it looks like it is. The wind from the left there, giving that a bit of a boost and taking him deep. This looks to be on a better line. From Luke, spiking it in. Catch cam angle, not totally sure. That looked pretty good to me. I don't know about you, Jess, but that looked about right. So Casey, look at this little window he's found.
Great effort.
Doesn't make good on it. Wow.
Jackson also a little too obstructed here.
Fine, though. Okay, Noah also finds a window. That's fortunate. Zings that quite a way by, I'd say. Okay, Luke, yeah, he's in a good spot here if he can manage the wind.
Just low.
That's tough.
Yeah, our group found a lot of rough this time, and it's not uncommon. That tunnel where Casey was from is just about where Noah was also putting from, and I see a lot of discs get collected there.
So Chase card making some moves here. We saw 3 of the 4 of the Chase card there with birdies, and now this entire lead card going to take pars and give up a stroke. Luke for sure the most disappointed. These other guys perhaps a bit fortunate to not be in worse trouble than they were off the tee, but that's definitely a spot where Luke should have gotten one on our leader. We're going to check in with Chase card again here. Ooh, perhaps needing to split the tree here for James. Oh man, had it online, just not quite having the height. See Eric, wow, yeah, he putts with quite a lot of pace, eh?
Yeah, he absolutely rips his putts.
5 of his last 6 holes there with birdies there for Eric. Sorry, EHO. And now Eric Weeb with another one to get to, what would that be, 8 under for the round?
8 under for the round and bogey free.
This card obviously vibing.
On to hole 14. This is a blind shot slightly uphill off the tee that quickly falls away on a steep slope into a flat green protected by these beautiful aspens. The key here is just landmarking where you want your disc to come out of your hand and letting it settle down the bottom of the hill. One of the more straightforward holes for people that have played it and practiced and know the release point, but something that you would definitely not want to play blind.
Yeah, it's one it can be nice to practice with a spotter who can tell you how your disc ended up where it is, because I've been around this green before and seen, discs hit the tree that were going to go long, and then people think that they've thrown it the right distance, but in fact they're getting bad intel. Casey's thrown this shot enough to know how hard to throw it, and that's really well done. He's inside the circle. Noah needing to make some moves. This looks to be the right shot to me. Get in the basket. Oh my goodness.
Run it back.
Watch it again.
Replay here.
Yeah, it looked perfect out of his hand. He's honestly unlucky not to have this spike in because the ground here is soft and generally pretty lush.
Yeah, it looks like a very sharp, overstable driver. It's going to bounce and right under the cage. Thing of beauty.
Just had a lot of forward speed. That was close, and they'll have no idea just how close from the tee. Okay, Jackson, is he going to throw an Annie or what? Because the trees on the left here make the hyzer kind of maybe not the play. Yeah, okay, so he's going to float a turnover in.
This needs to settle down, but it still looks really good.
Wow, yeah, that's a beautiful shot.
so much harder for the lefty. It's such a stock hyzer for all the righties, and Jackson has to go deep in the touch game.
Yeah, I mean, if he threw the forehand with the same hand he threw his backhand, it wouldn't be quite as tricky. But that's beautiful from Luke. Okay, keep the putter going. It's on line, but just doesn't get the lift he needed.
Yeah, it's almost more surprising when he doesn't make them now because his putter's been so hot for the tournament.
Okay, Noah's got to get things going here.
Yeah, sometimes you
do it.
Yeah, frustration comes out on the bag, and sometimes it's not your day. Uncharacteristic of Noah to be missing those putts, and honestly surprised at the overall round score as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's still in this thing. He had such a good round on the east side there, shooting 7 under that, he's still on the happy side of par here, but just not his day that he wanted to have on this west side.
Yeah, after being the round 1 leader, I think he expected to position himself well to be a contender for the win in the tournament. And there's still lots of golf left, but definitely not how he drew it up.
Okay, we're going to check in again with the chase card. Okay, we're on the green. I don't know if this is second or third. This would be an outstanding drive. Okay, that is for par for EH. Oh, keeping the momentum going. This is the hole just ahead, which we'll see the flyover here in a minute, but there's not a majority of the field, I don't think, has the power to get a drive up this high. Most of the birdie putts you'll see are from the bottom of the hill, edge of circle short here. So these guys cleaning up 3 pars and 1 bogey. So an opportunity for some separation from the lead card. Okay, hole 15. As we mentioned, if you try to go up the gut here to cut off some distance, then you certainly bring all these aspen trees into play. I have no doubt we'll see Jackson go all the way around with the big lefty hyzer, and then probably the other fellows that will have the power to go around the right side with a righty hyzer. Folks who only have maybe, say, 400 feet of distance will be sticking this one to the bottom of the hill because it's a bit tricky here. It says 384. I'd say you probably need 515 feet worth of flat ground distance to park this hole with the amount of hyzer needed to get up and around.
Absolutely. You'll see some variety off the tee from lower power players. A lot of guys will throw a big Sky Annie trying to maximize their distance on the side. Casey's lining up his forehand. Real power players going for the big hyzer, and then people on the fringe of the distance. I've seen some successful rollers here as well.
I've not seen that forehand play from Casey, but you see the wind on the flag there. The wind is blowing from left to right, so it'll help his forehand, whereas the wind will be pushing this down, this backhand hyzer from Luke. Okay, so he's at the bottom of the hill, have some kind of chance to make something happen.
Honestly, well short of where I expected a guy with his power to be, but that might just be a testament to what the wind is doing.
Yeah, you can see this just getting elevator down here as soon as it hyzers, but Noah had that flat for quite a decent chunk of the flight, and he's pin high, but to the right. Jackson, so now he's going to get a ride off the wind the whole way, but this is really high. Ooh. Underneath that tree, edge of circle short, I want to say. Maybe closer.
Yeah, definitely closer. And I think if that's his disc, you can see he's managed to stay on the edge of the tree so he won't have to get too creative with his footwork.
So where Casey's forehand put him. Yeah. This is the most common thing you see on this hole is, little putts where you're giving them a go from the bottom of the slope. Okay, which tree is this that Noah's in? Oh, wow. So he went deep.
Yeah, he's long.
Wow. So his disc must have gotten quite a ride when it got to flat.
Another barely missed putt from him as well. Great height, good pace, just a little off the line.
Man, that's a great birdie. That's getting strokes on a vast majority of the field there. Taking advantage of a lefty hole. So that's going to move Jackson to within 5 of Casey. If I'm to remember things correctly here, we saw Eric Weeb at -9. And then we see Luke Levesque at -8. So those, I think, at this point, feels like are their main contenders here. Never a doubt.
You must be just swimming in confidence to putt that hard all the time and have them work out so well.
James, again, not having the day he had yesterday, but
Another check-in with our scoreboard. As we suspected, Casey in the lead at 12 with Eric Weeb behind by 3 at 9 down, and we've got a three-way tie for third at 8 down between Jackson Pease, Eric Horth Olsen, and Luke Levesque. Noah has slid down into 6th place with his 4 down, with a 3 up for the round. That is still well in the cash and in contention.
Yeah, it just tells you what a great day he had yesterday. So, obviously not out of the question for him to get back in this thing if he can put together a performance like he did yesterday and maybe pick up a couple birdies here.
Yeah, and this is one he could absolutely do it on. 16, 307 feet. I want to say it probably plays closer to 260 with the downhill you have. You see most people take a backhand right of this coniferous tree, just trying to hook it in softly as that putter fades. Unlike our chase card check-in that saw some forehands, I also have seen the odd overhand tomahawk, just trying to hit that gap high, let it spike in around the basket.
Yeah, that's a rational choice to go up and over, assuming the wind is favorable for that. Okay, was that a polecat or something else maybe from Jackson?
I think that was a polecat. Tough to be that touchy with the breeze we're seeing here. He'll be in the rough with a long look at the basket.
Casey with a scorecard full of green. Ooh, this is tugged. I don't know what it is about this hole, but it feels like I, for one, feel a lot of pressure to get the birdie here. It feels like one of the best chances you get on this course. Well, here's the grenade from Luke. Is that on line? Oh, it's perfect. Yeah, love that. It makes a lot of sense as long as you don't have a crosswind to make things tougher, but with the tailwind there, it helps you to keep it straight. So as long as you know how hard to throw it.
This looks like the shot as I would draw it up.
Maybe a little juiced. No, it's pretty good. In tight.
Exciting to see Luke throw that grenade on coverage. He's got all the power to do crazy over-the-top things. There's just not that many opportunities on these courses.
Casey a little lucky not to penetrate into that rough on the right, but he's going to get out of there with a par. And Jackson again.
Yeah, that feels good after missing a couple shorter ones. He's right on track again.
Going to put the pressure on his card mates here to make good on theirs. Oh, my goodness.
Maybe a little
Yeah,
too
Luke
much
trying to
pace.
manage the wind there and put the pace on it. Yeah, I think he's just trying to putt through the wind there. I mean, you can't just float it down there too soft. So I think he's trying to putt through the break, so to speak, and it's just kind of the risk you take by doing it. Tough to see, but understandable. Noah makes good. Oh, here we go. Look at this. This is beautiful. Swinging up on the grenade, eyes to the sky. That's a gorgeous shot. Okay, 17. Another tricky one where you have to manage your nose angle. There's quite a few holes here where that's kind of the name of the game. So this one, you got to get it up over the ridge, and then you can get your nose down somehow. So either you've got to do that by throwing a slower disc that you can kind of keep the edge and keep it flat, or you throw something with a little bit of turnover and then expect some fade. By turning the disc over to the right and going with some kind of a flex, you can get that nose pulled over and then let the disc fade back. There's not really room for a natural hyzer the way that this hole shapes up. It kind of forces you to do some kind of finesse, at least as I see it. And much tougher, again, for Jackson. I don't even know how I would throw that as a lefty.
Yeah, very, very challenging. And I agree that the most successful shots I see here are light flexes that keep that nose down, just like Noah's thrown here. That needs to come back a bit. Yeah, it finds the ground
a little more stability. That's the shape, though. Out of the hand, that's what you want to see, just with something slightly more overstable. From Casey, this is FX3, I want to say, maybe from him.
That looked cranked over out of his hand. Yeah, still came back.
Yeah, tough to get the distance right, though, when you have to do this much finessing. Is this going to turn a little for Luke? Yeah, so something with more understability to flip up late there from Luke. I think a little touchier than the flex, but it's all about what you're comfortable with and what discs you have in your bag that are working for you.
Jackson manages to stick it. That green can produce some rollaways. Luckily, they don't typically go too far with the trees to block in the background. And Noah Higgins,
baby,
from way downtown,
gets it going now. So that's 2 in a row. Trying to salvage the day here. So he worked his way back at 4 over to -3, and now birdie on these last 2 to get himself to -5.
Yeah, never give up, and he shows why.
A little bit scary there. So Casey, there's a spruce tree down behind those 3 aspens that I'm confident were in Casey's head there, trying to sell them the amount of height he put on that, not the same direct line we saw from Noah. Luke, tough spot there.
Yeah, happened to reach out a bit, maybe a little uncomfortable with that putt.
I think he's probably frustrated. He probably thought that the drive was going to be in a better spot from the tee, from the line he saw. He probably thought it was, but you just don't realize that it's, gone long and behind stuff.
Yeah, maybe expecting it to come back a little bit more than it did.
Yeah, it's all in all pretty well played. No bogeys. 1 birdie. Another look. Wow, look at the purity of the spin there. Just absolutely on plane. Okay, see how Chase Card plays the 18th here with the gallery. Island hole. Perfect from Eric. Absolutely gorgeous.
The gallery is watching, and there might be as many as 60 people here, putting a lot of pressure on these shots. So these 2 first shots are so well thrown.
Yeah, I love the forehand here for today's wind. They're putting the wind on the top of the disc as it comes in, so it kills it as it comes in, mitigates the skip out of bounds, especially when you're bringing it in with that much height. This lower shot, now the wind turns that. Oof.
It's
never
not
had a
an
chance.
Easy drop zone.
Yeah, once the wind flips that over and sees the bottom, it's never going to make it back. They clean up the bogey. That's tough.
Yeah, it can be very frustrating, even a little bit embarrassing with all the people watching. It definitely affects your ability to perform.
Yeah, the gallery definitely amplifies whatever feelings you're having, right? So if you're throwing good shots, it makes it feel so much better. And then obviously when you're not playing as well, it feels way worse. What a round from Eric.
Yeah, both the Erics.
Absolutely. It's an Eric day. Okay, so both of them get to -10 for the event. Let's see where that's going to shake out here.
And back to our main group on the final 18. This hole has changed from previous years as well. This used to be a par 4 to the other side of the road. They've shortened it up and created this, I wouldn't say quite island, but very, very tight, short 279-foot hole with elevated basket. The benches in the background and the hillside will be filled with spectators ready to cheer you on and maybe heckle a little bit in the sunshine. This one's all about performing under pressure. Everybody in this group and the pro field of the tournament has the ability to birdie this hole, but can they manage it with all those eyes on them? Also, the drop zone is probably downhill, and I want to say 90 feet away. So it's a gargantuan run if you're trying to putt it, or a very straightforward upshot.
Boys all knucking up. Nice touch with the Cold Garden big banner here. So much support from Cold Garden Brewery. If you're in Calgary, lots of breweries to choose from, but You can't go wrong with supporting Cold Garden that's been supporting the Alberta Tour.
Yes, I have heard
big forehand guy.
A big forehand guy. Noah Higgins goes forehand, but before we get too far from the Cold Garden, I'm not a Calgary guy, but I have heard in the summer they have got the most bumping patio. You don't want to miss it.
Hey, Jackson. Yeah, everyone's working against. Oh man, that's tough. A little more hyzer there. This might seem counterintuitive, but with the crosswind, if he gets a little more hyzer on that, it probably actually digs in sooner because it would see more of that crosswind. Although these guys are getting a different wind all of a sudden. You see it punish both of them. So that wind that was working right to left kind of just became straight headwind and maybe even a little bit left to right as you see the flags in the back there, tricking our last two competitors.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
If Luke can make the adjustment.
And Luke throws
a little lower. That's really well done to make the adjustment off those first two, or second two, I should say.
Now we've got a little bit of drama on our hands because this is extraordinarily difficult 3 from the drop zone for both, for our almost entire group. But this could mean bogey at best for Casey Hanemayer, and that will bring the Erics within 1 of him. And yes, he just lays up. So we are shaping up for a tight round 3 at the top.
Man, that happened in a hurry, hey? 2-stroke swings is what a hole like this is designed to do, and it has done it.
Yeah, Noah in for a birdie. Really, really impressive to right the ship. There. Yeah, the turkey to finish it off after having a pretty turbulent round.
Yeah, it gets 4 of the last 7 to bring it home. That's wonderful. Luke looking to clean up. Yeah, so I don't think we'd see Luke take that long without the gallery there behind, but there is just, there's little noises. There's so much stuff to distract you, and you just got to make sure you're settled before you let that thing fly.
Jackson finishing at 7 down after his bogey. Still a very good round under his belt, keeping him well in the mix.
Yeah, those are good numbers through 2 rounds for our lead card there. No one worse than 6 under. We see the bogey cleanup from Mr. Hanemayer. Gonna sleep on the lead going into Sunday.
Absolutely. It will
at this point, after these guys tap in, I think we're enjoying the distance showcase from Cold Garden.
Oh, yes, that's the other thing. They really put the finishing touches on the practice area this year. Distance markers out in the driving range and a series of putting baskets to play to. It's really making it a complete facility.
It's a vibe. You got to get here. So you were right, Jesse. Things really tightening up there. 11, 10, 10, 9, 7. Where do you think the line is where we could see a winner from? Think it's Noah and up, or could you see Nick Culver or Riley Douglas maybe get into the mix to win this thing?
We've seen high single digits as some of the best rounds on the course that we'll be playing tomorrow. So I think it's all about not playing your score down as much as it is about elevating it.
Okay. Well, we'll see you guys for round 3. Subscribe, share, comment, like. Thank you to
comment,
the Patreon.
Share, subscribe.
Heart Pro. Peace.
See ya.